Sure.
Freezing. Good afternoon, Chairman Merman and members of the Education Committee. My name is Danna Seevers, and that's spelled D-A-N-N-A S-E-E-V-E-R-S, and I'm testifying today as a concerned parent and taxpayer from Seward, Nebraska, in strong support of LB1182. This bill is a vital step toward fairly compensating our teachers and providing stable, predictable funding for Nebraska's public schools through a modernized system. LB1182 sets a minimum base salary of $50,000 for certificated teachers beginning in the 27-28 school year. By providing a state-funded block grant for the $50,000 base, we actually enhance local control. We free up local boards to focus their local property tax dollars on the unique needs of their students, rather than just fighting the equalization formula. This creates a simple, fair alternative to today's complicated formula, allowing us to shift the power away from the bureaucracy and back to the local communities. This bill isn't an isolated policy. It's directly tied to Senator Lippincot's LB 1183, which reduces property valuations by 50% starting January 1st, 2027, delivering real relief to overburdened farmers, homeowners, and businesses. When paired, these two bills move primary education funding to the state level, easing property tax pressures while ensuring schools have reliable resources. LB 1183 tackles the property tax crisis at its source, and LB 1182 ensures the transition with solid, state-supported block grants. From the recent Revenue Committee hearing on LB 1183, opponents, including the Nebraska Association of County Officials, NACO, and Omaha Public Schools, expressed worries about revenue losses impacting local services in schools. Respectfully, these fears missed how LB 1182 complements LB 1183 perfectly. Block grants will secure essential funding, including competitive teacher pay, without requiring districts to raise levies or slash programs. Groups like NACO, focused on county operations, and OPS on urban school district needs, appear committed to defending the existing system. Yet that system has bred inequities and excessive reliance on property taxes, hitting our rural communities the hardest. LB 1182 and LB 1183 stimulate growth by returning $2.6 billion to Nebraskans and promote true local control with statewide fairness, avoiding the shortfalls and disruptions those opponents described. I want to sincerely thank Senators Lippincott and Lanowski for introducing LB 1182. Nebraska families need immediate property tax relief and excellent schools. Advancing LB 1182 helps achieve both. I urge the committee to put the people of Nebraska first and move this bill forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you agree that the amount of owning property is not a good measure of ability to pay?
Absolutely. I've run into folks out in western Nebraska that have tons and tons of land, and they're barely able to survive, and their choices are sell out to survive or continue at a poverty level. It's
I think
awful.
that's the biggest reason that we can, I think almost everybody can say that TEOSA is broken and needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
Senator Hughes.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for coming in, Ms. Seevers. Her and I go back a long way. So no one is more vested in this either discussion than myself. It's why I got on Seward School Board. It's also now why I'm here. I think you get it. So my question that I framed to Senator Lippincott was, Seward and York get the same amount of money for teachers because they're the same size schools, same amount of kids, essentially. You go and turn around whatever else you need, assuming they're run exactly the same. You have the same, you need $10 million each school to run. Why is it fair that York farmers will be double taxed than a Seward farmer for the same 80 acres of ground just because of how that school district is drawn? Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, I do.
You're taking that amount of money that York needs left, spreading it over X amount of dollars. Same with Seward, and it's how the districts are drawn that makes the difference. That's it.
So one thing I don't think you're accounting for is just how conservatively both Seward and Centennial schools probably already run. And one thing we don't know, and you're using general figures, but what we don't know is once these salaries are applied, you don't know what the gap is. Some schools will not experience a gap at all, and other schools are going to probably have to tighten their belt a little bit. So I'm not sure that it's fair to say that just because they have the same amount of expenses, because it's going to come down to the number of teachers. And if the schools don't have the same number of students, and they don't need the same number of teachers.
But York and Seward have 1,500 kids.
They both have the same, okay,
Yes.
so that's fair.
They both have the same amount of kids, so I'm assuming, yeah, if York has 10 more kids.
Then they're gonna
or
get
10 more
$50,000
Right.
per teacher.
Yes.
And that's going to take a huge portion
Yes.
of the budget.
Yes, and, right, but no matter what, there's gonna be some left to go back on property tax.
Mm-hmm.
And assuming they run the same, it's the same amount of money, but you've got a much smaller tax base in terms of value, in terms of number of corporations, in terms of ag valuations, in terms of residential valuations than Seward. It's so, you could even do the same.
Well, our
Seward.
plan doesn't interrupt the foundation aid, so doesn't that help to offset that difference?
I thought.
No,
it
the
would-
foundation aid, this has nothing to do with your K through 12 foundation aid. Nothing would
But
change
you're
there.
cutting, on the other bill, you're taking property tax, or the valuations down by half. So you're not cutting half of the TEOSA, there's still money TEOSA going out, is what you're saying.
I don't believe foundation aid comes through TEOSA.
Well, foundation aid's flawed too, but that's another,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
for another story.
Yeah.
When,
Well-
when my staff ran the numbers, the biggest indicator of a high levy was low valuation per student, period, end of story. So basically, when you've got a lot of kids and not very much valuation on it, it lends itself to a higher levy, even though that school is getting more state aid, because of different factors. That made the biggest determination. So high valuation per student gives you a low levy, which is like a centennial case. I mean, honestly, to do it right, we should redraw our school districts every 10 years if you want to do that, but we would all be tarred and feathered, so.
Well, with all due respect, Senator, and I know you've put a lot of time and energy into your own version of a bill to help
Yeah.
Nebraska, but at the end of the day, we've been seeking property tax relief for almost
Oh, I
60
agree.
years, and of that 60 years, politicians have been promising us tax relief for 59 of those years. And so being out on the street, collecting signatures for our ballot initiatives, I can tell you that Nebraska citizens have had a belly full of it. And if we can help schools and help teachers and reduce property taxes, we all ought to be working together to make that happen. So
thanks for
we'll
coming.
see what happens. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, thanks for your testimony.
Thank you.
Other proponents for LB 1182?